All right. Welcome everyone to another episode of the OpenJS Foundation's Cross-Project Council meeting. Today is the 15th of March and 2022. We are live. The agenda issue is 8:37. And let me open up the doc here. If folks can make sure that they are captured as present, that would be great. Thanks for folks jumping in there. Let me add that issue into the notes and grab the link to the stream. Add that to the notes as well. Excuse me. All right, cool. So getting into things, do we have any announcements? Anyone?
I feel like that's usually me, that I'm like, oh, here's all these announcements, but I haven't been back long enough to have a bunch of announcements. As Alex pointed out, we do have a marketing committee meeting coming up, and that's on the public calendar. That's next week. And then, no, I'm sorry, that's this afternoon. And then the board meeting is next Friday, the 25th. And there's usually a public session of the board meeting. So if you want to tune into that. And then our program committee is meeting weekly to flesh out the plans for OpenJS World, which is really coming along. And that's all the announcements that I'm aware of.
Great. I don't know if there were any announcements to the event lately. I don't think there have been in terms of speakers or anything like that.
I don't think so. We've got speakers and on the site, and some speakers on the site, and we will be finishing up the CFP review and getting those invitations out soon.
Yeah.
So that'll probably be the next.
Great.
Just to add, we are starting to promote some of the confirmed speakers like on social media, but as Jory said, they're all listed on the event website.
Yep. Cool. So check out the website. Excellent. Cool. I don't, if there's anything from the board, now's a good time to chime in. But I don't think there's been anything lately. So unless anyone.
Yeah, I'm not aware of anything in particular. As we discussed there, the board meeting is next Friday, I think.
Yeah, a week from Friday.
A week from Friday, yeah. A week from Friday. So, if there's anything that people want us to take to the board, let us know.
Yep. Cool. Great. So getting into the agenda then. The first item on the agenda is issue 826, a focus on JavaScript security at OpenJS. The last comment here from Robin, which is from 28 days ago, and I think was from our last working session that was focused on security, has a couple of items here, and I feel compelled to turn that into checkboxes, but create security channel list on Slack, which already existed. So that's good and done. Schedule a follow-up meeting separate from a CP working session. So we should try to get that on the calendar. Maybe we can get a doodle going with interested parties. I think that we have a draft document for a collab space proposal. That's actually not one of the list things here, but recruit potential collab space champions. I think, I kind of volunteered to drive that. So I will work on pulling some of these things together and then bring in more security experts to participate. So that's important as well. So I don't know if there's anything we want to discuss here, but I certainly have some action items that I need to act on. Any comments or thoughts, or should we just move along on that one? Cool. So I will, get working on that. Cool. Next on the agenda item is issue 820, which actually closed this morning because really this issue was just to add the dates and reminders to the template, which was done. But I did add the agenda label to the corresponding issue, which is add missing dates to the dates and reminders doc, which I also worked on this morning. Do we want to talk about this since it's kind of the agenda item, but kind of not really? Does anybody have any objection to quickly discussing terms? Cool. I will drop this into the chat so that folks have it if it wasn't clear where I was going. But this is issue 824. Essentially, there are some missing dates, term ends for some of these important things. The CPC chair election is we need to document here. And the CPC non-impact voting member election also does not have a term end listed in this document. I went through issues this morning, and as linked in the comment here, I was, quote unquote, elected in August of 2021. And so I don't know if we were like running late or anything. I think the previous year was more like June or July. But I guess the question for the CPC election term end is with the Director 2 election term ending on August 31st, do we want to align with that, or do we want to kind of stagger and do something like term ends June or July? If anyone has any thoughts on that. I feel like we talk about this every time we have to figure this out. So. Any thoughts?
This is Paris. My thought is that it would be great if you can align them all to end in the same month, so that you're only really doing one time, like a campaign to look for new people, new blood, new people at one time of the year, rather than trying to remember to do something at a specific time of the year. So that's just my thought.
Yeah, that's one angle. And I think in previous discussions, the thing that comes up is sometimes these things are, I don't know if overlapping is the right word, but if I wasn't going to be the chairperson, then I might run for the director role, or vice versa, that sort of thing. So could go two different ways of approaching it.
Yeah, I think it's good to let people, if we've got a fixed set of volunteers, it would be good to have those volunteers be able to run for different things if they don't get elected for one, right?
Yeah. And if everything was open at once, you just put your hat into all the roles, and then it kind of gets confusing and messy.
Yeah, and then if you win them all and or whatever, what happens?
Yeah, when if nobody else steps up, that kind of stuff. So maybe it makes sense to do it in like June, and if we did that, and if it were June, the end of June, say for example, since we're choosing the end of months here, CPC chair election would end at end of June, Director 1 would end of February, Director 2 end of August, impact voting members end of March. We still need to figure out the CPC non-impact voting member election was in May last year. So we could just say the end of May on that one. And I think that's fairly staggered. Seems reasonable. At a minimum, it's something we could try.
Did we actually run the February 28th Director 1 election?
No, and that's next on the things
Okay.
that talk about it. Yes.
The other question is, piggybacking on what you said about June, is since we have the open JavaScript world and we're going back to live, if you had an opportunity to allow people to meet each other, for the people that can, and we still could do a hybrid, some live, some virtual for the people that aren't able to do that, you could do some kind of campaign at Open JavaScript World about what it is to be a part of this community, What are the, you can go over the different roles and responsibility, what have you, and then you can either have the elections sometime right after that. So I'm just using that as like a marketing type of, ploys, type of in communication to lever, JS World as a way to get the word out about what we're doing, and co-branding that, and then have the election either at JS World or sometime shortly after that for the following year's people. That might be something to do, because then at least we're leveraging existing marketing dollars that are going JS World to hype something that's actually a way for people to be involved. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. I'm not.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good thought, Paris. I think definitely like engaging with folks at the event makes a lot of sense, and we should do that regardless. The only thing that comes to mind is a lot of these roles, you need to be involved in something. I mean, like, I guess if you were involved in the Node project or one of the projects, then you're eligible. But if we're just recruiting directly into the OpenJS Foundation, I think there's like a 90-day thing that you should be involved in before you run for one of these roles. So I agree, but also, there's some of that stuff as well. Toby?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like that is actually more, what Paris is suggesting makes more sense for certain roles than for others, because certain roles are actually elected by project leads, whilst others are elected by CPC members. And so if we really want to do that well and really want to do the staggering well and actually do what Paris is suggesting, then we probably should think about which roles those are and have those be elected after the time for OpenJS World. And I think that's only, I'm not sure, I think that's only the CPC non-impact voting members.
Yeah, because the impact voting member, and it even says here selection rather than election, because I think, the projects select their own reps, which would still, I think, be valid in terms of trying to recruit people. You are involved in this project. We're doing great stuff at the CPC. Maybe you should be that project's, voting member if they are an impact project, as an example.
So could we move both of those like after that date? I mean, that doesn't seem like a too much of an issue to do, or would that be difficult to make terms a little longer than a year?
I don't think it's an issue. I mean, because I think, yeah, I don't think it's an issue. And really that I think, if I understand correctly, the CPC impact voting member selection and the CPC non-impact voting member election we're suggesting would happen after the event.
Yeah, I mean, that seems like a reasonable thing to suggest. I mean, frankly, we've had conversations about this last year already, that we felt sort of disconnected from the projects a little bit. And so sort of like using that as a forcing function to actually go talk to people is a good thing.
Yeah. And my brain is kind of taking the next step, looking at these dates. The Director 2 election, the term ends August 31st. And I don't see why those three things couldn't be aligned. I don't feel like there's any friction or conflict in those dates aligning. So we could just put them all as August 31st.
Is the Director 2 not the one that is actually representing projects 2, or is it, which one is it?
I'm going to look really quickly because I forget now.
The one in August, I'm pretty sure.
So is it projects?
Well,
Was it
it's community, I think, is what it's called.
The secondary CPC Director is filled based on processes. Second CPC Director must be an active. Yeah, we used to have little terms for these, like, the community director, but I think we took that all out. So I'm looking at this. I'll share it in the doc in the chat. The second board seat will be filled based on processes defined by the CPC and approved by the voting CPC members in the board. The CPC members will review and either reconfirm or update the process once per year. Second, director eligibility must be an active OpenJS collaborator at the time of their selection as defined in the CPC's governance document. And CPC voting members will vote on that candidate, which is the same with the other one.
For both, right?
Yeah. Okay, so the primary CPC director must be a current CPC member. But the secondary one must just be an active OpenJS collaborator. So it is sort of more of the community role. You don't have to be a CPC member to be a secondary CPC director. Who's current? Michael, are you the, no, who? Yeah.
I'm the secondary one.
Okay. Yeah,
Oh,
so
yeah,
that's
like
more the community one, right?
Yeah, like the first one, I think, I forget where we used to have text, but like it was, you know, representing the CPC at the board. And then the other one was the broader community.
Yeah, so I think the primary one, you must be a CPC member. So that's representing the CPC at the board. And the secondary one is you must be an active OpenJS collaborator, which can be either in the projects or in the CPC. And so, yeah, that's more of the community role.
So it makes sense to have that one with the other ones.
Yeah, I think so too. What if we made all three of those term ends August 31st? And then, you know, we can take advantage of the event to recruit and such. Oh, and we lost Michael.
We probably have to go.
Real advantage is that we could take advantage of all the outgoing marketing material around OpenJS World to where it makes sense, put in notices about this event occurring, right? So we can take not only advantage of the actual activity that's occurring that, you know, during that period of time, but any notice that's going out to people being informed about it, we could, in the sections of how can I be involved in future ways in the CP in OpenJS, that allows us to tie it all in. So it also allows us to add that to the marketing calendar moving forward, right? So that the things that we haven't done in the past that we've done this year, we can leverage for next year's OpenJS World, because we also know that OpenJS World is going to occur, and then a month or two later, we're going to have elections about that, right?
Yeah,
so you have to look at it from a long-term point of view, not just what we can try to accomplish this year.
Yeah, I agree. And the elections, you know, the term ends on August 31st, but we'll start things, you know, perhaps a month early. So, but I think that all lines up. So we don't need to decide all of this today. I can open a PR that essentially makes the Director 2 election, CPC impact voting member selection, and CPC non-impact voting member election all August 31st, and we can discuss it in a PR and go from there.
We should probably tie them a little closer, frankly, to the event, in my opinion, if we're doing that, because if it's like 2 months later, like people are going to be way done with it. But outside of that, like your suggestion is
okay. Okay, so maybe in the PR do July, the end of July.
Let's chat about it in that PR.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll put end of July for now, and we can chat about it more there, because I don't disagree. I feel like we've been talking about this for a while, but the one thing that I think is still an open question is the CPC chair election. Last time I was elected in August. I don't know if we want to have that line up with this as well, or if we want to, you know, put that as a different date.
Let's have that was the other one, was the Director 1, whenever that is.
Well, but that presents the, you know, do you run for one or the other kind of situation? Because Director 1 has to be a CPC member. I'm not sure if CPC chair is the same, but, you know, yeah, if I wasn't going to be the chairperson, I would probably run for director, that kind of thing. So how about this? I'll just pick a date and put in a PR, and we'll go from there. How's that sound? All right. We got a lively bunch today. Good. So I'll do that.
That said, like, do we even need to have an election for the chairs? Like, literally, no one wants to do this.
Yeah, but that's kind of,
Yes,
you know,
we do.
we do.
I think we do. Like, I don't want to end in a situation. Where
I'm
we
sorry,
have-
I was joking.
Oh, okay.
Okay, good. All right, cool. So I'll put some of this stuff into a PR and we can go from there. And so that all being said, moving on, the next one is issue 815. This is license check support tooling. 28 days ago, comment from Michael from the meeting. This next step is LF is going to respond on whether they are going to take ownership for providing something, and if so, what timing would look like. I presume that there has not been any progress there, but if I'm wrong, somebody chime in.
I guess we'll have to wait for Michael O'Brien.
I can ask Brian about it in Slack real quick and see if he has an update, but I doubt it.
Okay, so we're still waiting on the foundation there. Next one is clarify requirements around COC violation, issue 786.
I have a PR in the works. I have no update. I'm sorry.
Okay, no worries. Great, glad to hear you got something going, and look forward to seeing that. And then the last one is create proposals for the community fund. This could be kind of an ongoing thing. But as mentioned in January, we have a community fund repo now. So folks can go there to make proposals and help us to flesh that repo out further. Excuse me, I really got something in my throat. But in starting that repo, we really were trying to just get some things down. But I think there's 10 open issues. There's even an open pull request here. So if folks want to get more involved in the community fund stuff, it would be great if you could help us to, flesh that out a little bit further, take a look at the issues, help us fill it in, and we'll probably use a working session sometime soon to continue that work. Any thoughts or comments or anything? And we're actually at the end of the agenda as well. So if we are to kind of move on, the last thing that we would typically do is talk about what's our next working session. And I'm trying to see real quickly if there's anything on that calendar. Issue 816 is our 2022 meeting schedule. It looks like next week is the repo cleanup meeting, which we tend to kind of kick that can. So I don't know if we want to do that next week or if we want to focus on something more impactful.
I'd say if it's something that we've been pushing off for a long time, we should maybe try to get it done.
Sounds good. Let's do it.
I agree. There's something about sort of that spring cleaning that can help you kind of like focus on stuff you really want to do and say, are we ever going to get to this? Okay, probably not. Let's stop dragging it around.
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, and these open meeting issues too, I got to clean up. It plagues me, keeps me up at night. I keep trying to find folks inside IBM to help me to help build out the meeting tooling. Tierney and I talked about it last week. Anyway, hopefully we'll have progress there at some point too, which would be great. I love tooling. All right. Anything else we want to talk about or get into or whatever, either publicly or privately? We got time, or do we give back 22 some odd minutes? 20. Yeah, I see Toby. It's like, yeah, I could use the time. I could use the time too.
That would be kind of cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I like give back. Great. So we'll call it a wrap. And I appreciate everyone's time, and I look forward to seeing you at the next meeting and just generally online. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers. Good to see y'all.
Yep.
Bye.
Same.
See you next time.
Same.